Hi, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about repetition. Somebody said repetition is the mother of mastery. And I think that this is such a true statement. If you think of anything that you do in life, let's just talk about sports. Let's say you're trying to get good at a certain sport. How many repetitions, how much practice do you have to put yourself through in order to master an athletic skill? Let's say you're learning to ski. How many times do you have to ski in order for you to be a pretty good skier? A lot, right? If you've never thrown a football before and you say, I want to learn how to throw a football, how many repetitions, how many throws does it take to become a good football thrower, like a good quarterback, for example? And that's a whole different position, right? Not just throwing a ball. I mean, it's reading the schemes and there's a lot of things involved in that. If you want to be good at anything, if you want to be good at playing the piano or playing the violin or playing any instrument, how many times have you repeated the same thing over and over and over and over and over again? Countless times, right? This is true for all the things we do in life. And yet, for some reason, people don't apply this to academics or the career field. And this is very curious to me. So I often say to my students, if you want to get really, really good at this, I often tell them it's very important that you master the things that I teach. Okay. It's very important you master them. And how you master it is you repeat it. 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 You do it over and over and over. So a lot of people say, well, I repeated it. Now what? Well, what do you mean you repeat it? How many times did you repeat it? Like twice? I said, what if you repeat it 20 times? What if you repeat it 120 times? What if you repeat it 200 times? You see, there's no end to repetition to make you better, smarter, faster. Okay, so the more you repeat, the better. But people seem to think that after they repeat it a few times, that they're good, they're done. And I often tell students that when you're repeating things, when you're practicing things, in academics, I teach this thing called sowing seeds. So it's like sowing a seed. You got to sow the seed so that you have a harvest. Okay, so you have a harvest later. Everybody wants to reap the benefits, the reward, the consequences, the results, the harvest. But to do that, you got to sow. You got to sow. So what do you sow? What does that mean, sowing? In academic terms, here's the way I teach it to some of my students. And I said, look, sowing is SOW. So S stands for sequence. When you practice something, make sure that you have a sequence. You're not practicing it differently every time. When you're saying something, say it the same way, in the same order, in the same sequence, if you will. It's like learning a song. We learn the lyrics, there's a melody, there's a tempo, and it's set. It's not like you change it up every time. That'd be a weird song if you change it up every time. There's a sequence to that. So make a sequence in the way that you study, in the thing that you're doing. Make a sequence. Once you set the sequence, the O in so stands for out loud. You say it out loud. Now, why do I tell people to say it out loud? Because if you don't say it out loud and you just read it with your eyes are involved, but nothing else is involved. If I say it out loud, my mouth, my voice is now involved, and my ears are involved because I'm hearing myself now. All right? So I'm not just seeing it with my eyes, I'm saying it with my mouth and I'm hearing it. And then W in so stands for write it out. I'm also getting my hands involved. So I'm seeing it as I write it, I'm saying it out loud, and I can hear myself. I'm trying to use as many senses as possible. And you want to so, sequence out loud and write it out, and you want to do this constantly. So what if you get done? Then you do it again. You repeat. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. So once you go through one iteration, you do it again and again. Now, how often and until when? Until that thing is done. So in my case, if I'm teaching SAT, I say until you're completely done with all your testing, you got to continue repeating it. And it's amazing that some students think they can just repeat it in the first week I teach something and then just kind of forget about it the rest of the way. I said, no. You got to keep pedaling. You got to keep pedaling. It's like pedaling. You got to keep pedaling until you get to the finish line. You can't just pedal once when you say start in a 26-mile, race, and then you just think, well, I'll coast the rest of the way. That's exactly what it's like, though, if you just repeat it one time in the first week or the first month, and then you don't do it anymore. In order to get to the end of the 26-mile race, you got to pedal and pedal and pedal. You don't just pedal 10 times in the beginning and just say, let me coast the next 26 miles. You got to constantly pedal. You got to constantly pedal until you get to the finish line. It's the same thing. You got to constantly repeat. There's no end to this repetition until you're done with the thing, until it becomes a part of you. Okay? So that is how it has to be. Repetition is the key, but most people don't ever reach that level of mastery in anything because they don't repeat. They're not repeating. They just kind of a few times practice and then they try to coast. You don't get up the hill that way. You'll just fall back down. You'll roll back down. Okay, so in academics, it's so important to sow like that. Okay, now in the business world, same thing. In your career, you've got to work on those skills that you need to get to the next level, and you have to repeat it. When you're repeating things, please do not compare yourself to other people around you. They only repeated it 5 times, so I guess I could do it 5 times as well. What they do has nothing to do with what I do. What other people do have nothing to do with what I do. I have to repeat it as many times as I need to repeat it in order for me to master it. Now, if it took me 200 repetitions, other people only took them 50, what does that have anything to do with me? Somebody getting it after 50 repetitions has nothing to do with me. If I need 200 repetitions, then I need 200 repetitions. I need what I need. Everybody's different. So you only got to focus on yourself and say, how many times do I need to practice? How much do I need to practice? How hard do I have to work? How many times do I have to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again until I become a master at that thing? And many people have said that to master something, it takes 10,000 repetitions of something. Okay? People have also said it takes about 20,000 hours to master something big. Usually they're talking about in your career, okay? Just as an example, if you're first starting out as a real estate agent, how much time will it take for you to become a really good, successful real estate agent? If you're doing the right things and you got the right people, you're doing the right things and you're doing it the right way and you're working hard, probably 10 to 20,000 hours of doing this. This is typically 3 to 5 years for most people. So when people think, well, I'm just going to do it in 6 months, I'm going to kill it. Okay, and I'm not saying some people don't. Some people do, but that's a rare exception. Most people will take about 20,000 hours. It'll take about 3 to 5 years of working really hard, of going all in, that many repetitions to become a master in their thing, whatever they're doing. And in my own life too, when I first started out in sales, I think it took me about 2 years to really feel like I got this. I'm very fluent in sales. Okay. When I became an engineer, I feel like it took me about 2 to 3 years to really become fluent in the thing that I learned called lean production or Kaizen or the Toyota production system. And that was one of the things that I became an expert in. It took about 3 years or more. Okay. So anything that I've done, I feel like even as an entrepreneur in my business, I think it took me probably about 5 years for me to really feel like I'm better at this than anybody. Like just having that confidence and feeling like there's no question I can't answer about this, because I repeated it so many times, so many iterations, and I still do, that you just become fluent in it, And so in order to reach that kind of that level of mastery in anything, you've got to repeat. You've got to repeat. So create a sequence. Sequence, another word for that might be system. Create a system or a sequence. Say things out loud so that you are hearing yourself say it, and then write things down, okay? These are 3 general principles. Now, I teach it very specifically for academics, but these are general. Think about this. Create a system. You got to create a system in what you're doing, okay? You got to say things out loud. And that could be a metaphor for learn how to communicate effectively in your field, in your thing, okay? And the W, write it out, okay? But again, it's not just about taking notes, is it? Write it out, right? Keep things organized, document things, have a procedure, have a process. And so think about this in a little bit broader terms if you're a professional watching this and you say, well, I'm not a student anymore. But again, principles don't just apply to that specific person. Principles are overreaching into many areas of life. And so take these and apply it to the thing that you're doing, and then I think it'll be helpful. But remember, repetition is the key to mastery. You cannot master something without repeating it. and it's typically repeating it many hundreds, sometimes thousands of times. And so don't underestimate how many repetitions it takes to master something. In my life, I found it takes way more than I thought. Okay, so now that I know that at my age, I just think, well, do I want to get into this or learn this or do this other type of business? I know it's going to be all in for three to 5 years. That's just in my head. I'm like, well, if I'm going to get into this new thing, if I'm going to learn this new thing, if I'm going to expand my business into this area, that area to make it successful, just in my mind, I'm thinking that's 3 to 5 years all in. Okay, and so if I'm not willing to do that, then I'm probably not going to pursue that endeavor. Okay, so that's how you got to think. Wow, it's going to take me that long. Yeah, in most things that are big. So just keep that in mind. So do not get tired of repeating. Just understand, just assume, I got to repeat this. I got to keep repeating. Do not tire of it. It's just like pedaling. The more you pedal, the faster you go, the farther you'll get there. And the closer you get, and the more quickly you will get to your finish line, okay? And so keep repeating. That is the key to mastery. So I hope that helps. I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. And until my next video, I hope you stay well.